ladies and gentlemen. Today I thought I would pull out this assassin bug that I collected. This is an assassin bug called a masked hunter. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Yeah, it's fine. So, so this is a masked hunter, and when it's an adult, you can see, this, like, masked hunter behavior. They don't really show it off as an adult. But when they're an immature, it's really kind of cool. The, immature stages of this masked hunter, or the nymphal stages, they release a little bit of a glue, like a little bit of a sticky substance from in between, the sclerites, or from in between the bits of exoskeleton. And then they kind of cover their body with this glue. And then whatever they're walking through, whether that be like little bits of soil and dirt outside, or sometimes these assassin bugs can be found in the house. And when the immatures are found in your house, they look like a little walking, like, dust ball. It's really cute. And so they can glue little bits of the dust all over your house onto your body, and that helps them blend into their like micro habitats. So that's the masked hunter. I don't believe it is a native species, but you can find it indoors and outdoors. This masked hunter was collected in Michigan this year, but it was collected outside. I didn't find it inside. Although, I have definitely seen masked hunter nymphs inside. So, the scientific name for the family of assassin bugs is this. Reduvius. Alright, so the family that they're in is Reduvius. That is all of the assassin bugs. But if you want to get to the species that our masked hunter is, it is Reduvius personatus. Reduvius. Notice that the genus has the same root as the family name, so it's in the original genus for this family. Also, more than likely, the largest genus for this family. Personatus. Perfect. Because we can zoom all the way out like this and see the entirety of our specimen in one go, we can also measure it. So, looking all the way up to the front, from the front of the head all the way to the back of the abdomen, this specimen is 1.6 centimeters long. 1.6 centimeters. And for those of you who use inches, I'll give it to you today. That is 0.63 inches. So, a little over a half of an inch. Alright. Perfect. So, I'm not going to turn our specimen until we're zoomed in and looking at more of the kind of zoomed in features of our insect. So I'm just going to leave it here kind of sideways for now. I'm thinking that we are going to draw it dorsally, or from this perspective, but when I do turn it sideways laterally, there are some really cool, you can see the legs better when you look at it laterally. But you miss all of the head because those front legs are large enough to pretty much cover the entire head from a side perspective. So that's kind of why I want to do it from the front. There we are. So our assassin bug here, or our masked hunter, is a fairly narrow insect. It's got some pretty long legs. I like to just try to imagine that picture right here on my paper, see how large I'm going to be able to kind of create that head. And it's going to be something like this. I'm going to start with the back of the head, which is just a very short horizontal line here. And then keep in mind that this first sketch I'm going to do pretty quick, but it's also going to be nice and light. And then we'll zoom into each of the bug parts, and we'll be able to look at all of the details here. So from the back of the head, we can see that it comes straight up parallel to one another for a moment before it comes wide like a cone. So this head does kind of widen out a little bit, not a whole lot. Don't let it get out of hand like I almost did. And then after it gets wider, I'm just going to make these parentheses here. So kind of round on the outside, but I want the parenthesis to go further in than it started on the top. Bless you. Me. Alright, so that is going to be kind of the start of our head here. And then way up here at the top, it looks like there's an additional piece of our head. So we're just going to make a little mountain up there at the top. And you know what? When we zoom in, we'll be able to make sure that all of this is more detailed. Our goal right now is to just make sure that the approximate sizes are correct. Because once you get all zoomed in, it's hard to tell how large something is in comparison to another part of the body. That's all. Alright, so we've got a working head here. Thank you. Aw, you both are so sweet. So we've got this working head here. I'm sure we are going to modify it a whole bunch before we're done. And then behind the head we have the first segment of the thorax, which is going to be the pronotum. So I'm going to make the top of the pronotum here just a little bit wider than the bottom side of the head. Alright, and then instead of paying too much attention to all of the detail and the shaping on this pronotum, I'm just going to give it that diagonal line down. So what I want to draw is mostly this kind of cone shape here. Keep in mind, this is just a baseline shape for us to work with later. So we've got this here, the edges of the pronotum coming out, and then the bottom side of the pronotum does have a very shallow kind of U shape. So you can make it either straight or just pull the line down a little bit. Your goal is also to make sure that the insect stays totally symmetrical with itself. So if one side starts getting shorter or wonkier than the other side, go ahead and try to preemptively fix it, because everything you're building the building blocks of your drawing, and it'll be difficult to fix those types of things later on. You can. It's not my favorite. Okay. Alright, so we've got that all done. Now, my next goal is to kind of imagine where the scutellum is. So let me spell that out for you. The scutellum is right here. It's kind of going to be a triangle. It's the visible segments of the top of the mesonotum, so the top of the thoracic segments, the middle one, probably. It's the scutellum. It exists right here. It's that little triangle. Okay. It doesn't start all the way at the corners, so I'm going to come in just a little bit, and I'm going to estimate the length of your scutellum here, And then the wings that you can see up here on the top, they actually have their own unique name. We call them hemielytra. Hemi is rooted in the word half, and elytra are those hard outer shells of a beetle. So when we're saying hemielytra, they're just saying that it's kind of half hard and half membranous. If you were to pull one of these wings out, you would be able to see it. And when we zoom in, I think we'll be able to see the difference between the kind of leathery, thick part of the front wing and the membranous wing at the edge. Alright, so it looks like that right wing is kind of folded over the left wing. So I want this side, when it's coming over, it's going to be the one that continues down, because that right wing is on top. The edges of the masked hunter here, I'm just going to take from the edges of the pronotum, and I'm going to make them primarily parallel to one another until you get closer to the end. And then we have that kind of a really longer U shape, making sure it doesn't get too pointed there at the end. So if you have the outside shape of the body, then it's really easy to take this wing here and pull it all the way over until it touches the edge of the outside. Alright, and then you have the base of our masked hunter here. We are going to be giving it front leg. We are going to be giving it all of its legs. If you wanted to, you know, get some of them up, I would say we're probably going to be doing our front leg like this. Our middle leg coming out right around here. And then our hind leg coming backwards. We're going to be going pretty much like that. I might be pulling the front leg a little bit closer in. Definitely will be doing that. Alright, let's go ahead and zoom in. And for those of us who are just joining us, we are working with the species Reduvius personatus, which is the masked hunter. You may have seen one of these in your house. It almost looks metallic under the microscope. And I never would have noticed that before. That's so pretty. Alright, so there's only one thing. The head is tilted a little bit to the right, so as I'm drawing, I'm going to be fixing those lines just a little bit, but I'm pretty happy with our alignment here, so I don't want to move the specimen much more. Plus, I think that the focus on these compound eyes is really cool. Look, you can see all of the individual lenses in here. These two little orange guys down here, those are simple eyes. So I see two visible ocelli on this specimen. So I like to start my sketches with approximations of our eyes. I think the compound eyes just lead to something. So I like to base everything off of the size I make their eyes. So we've got this parentheses happening here on either side of the head. I'm going to start with the left side. Starting up at the top of the parentheses, and I'm going to work down and towards the center just a little bit. But I also want to make sure that this stays nice and rounded. We don't want there to be a corner here. We just want to round it out, and then all the way back towards the outside of the head. Once you get there, I personally don't like to follow the edge of the head I have already drawn. What I like to do is I have a start point and an end point, and I'm going to make this compound eye bulbous. I'm going to kind of give it a nice even line here. So then the compound eye looks like it's a little bit bulbous away from the rest of the head. Hot weather goes, Jared goes, are those ocelli I see? Yes, 100%. Those little orange guys are ocelli. All order insects has hair in leg parts. Pretty much. I would say most insects have hair somewhere on their bodies or on their legs. And a lot of hairs are sensory hairs. Whether it's chemical senses or just like sensing vibration in the air for wind and sound. Alright, so I'm going to try and make my right eye just equivalent with my left eye here. And I'm noticing that the parentheses is a little different, so I'm going to try and just match the shape of this eye, kind of coming back down, making it nice and round, going back out. It didn't work. We're going to try again. That's better. And then round. Alright, so we've got that other compound eye that needs to be a tiny bit bigger. Alright, very good. So those are our compound eyes, and when I'm drawing compound eyes, I like to cross hatch, which means you add diagonal lines in both directions. And that's going to give you the feel of ommatidia, or all those individual lenses within the compound eyes. At this point, I'm just going to erase this space underneath our compound eyes because I know it's coming from here to here. I know it's getting narrower. I'm going to try and make this nice and smooth from the middle of the compound eye, that funnel in, and then coming back down. Originally, I had made this line nice and straight up and down, but we're going to curve it out towards the outside this time. So a nice smooth shape like this where you've got that funnel coming out and it's a nice long neck. And then right here in between our compound eyes are those two ocelli. And I actually kind of want, don't mind me, but I kind of want the neck to start a little bit sooner. Let me see if I can make that work out a little bit better. That's better. Just needs to be now not as narrow. We're getting there. Alright, and now the bottom of the head, or we could be looking at the top of the pronotum, it is a stretched U shape. So we're just gonna give that nice U underneath the head. It looks like an alien head. Don't worry about it. We'll fix it. I'm sure of it. I'm going to add those cute little ocelli in here. Alright, and then we do need to work on the front of the head. We've got head, we've got hair on the legs. Here we go. Okay, so I just focused all the way through the head because I wanted to see what the tip of the head looked like in comparison to these antennal sockets. So coming up from the head here, we have two of these. They almost look like horns, but this is kind of where the antennae are connected. So right up here in front, I'm going to draw this little rectangle going up and to the left, and then another one going up and to the right. I'm going to connect them like this. And then underneath them, we have the remainder of the head. So it's going to be coming out kind of like so, coming out to a point, because our masked hunter does have a piercing and sucking mouth part. Alright, so it also has a head that comes out to a point, and it's going to have, I believe it has a jugomentalus. Let me look and make sure. Its own equivalent. So right here in the very center of the head, I'm going to draw a very narrow double line. That's kind of where it just gives a segmentation for the mouth parts that are happening on the underside. Okay. Now let's go ahead and zoom back out. I want to see the antenna. The antenna of this assassin bug should be filiform, meaning it should have nice straight antenna. Let's go see how many segments it has. What? Well, that's fun. Alright, let me share this with you. It's gonna make you giggle. Okay. Alright, so I'm focusing from the top down, and I want to get it kind of focused in the middle. But at this focus, I want you to notice, oh, I just went a little bit past it, but I want you to notice right here, at the very end of the antenna, there is another itty bitty teeny tiny bonus baby segment, and it makes me really happy. So we're going to be zooming into the very end of the antenna to see the little baby bonus segment. But we've got, outside of that segment, just two. We've got this segment here, one coming up, this one here coming out, and then this little itty bitty baby antenna. Let's go look at it. Ladies and gentlemen, look at that little itty bitty segment. It's so cute. See, if I hadn't collected this specimen, my guess would have been that the antenna broke off, and that's like a little piece of an antenna. But I don't think that's the case, because if it was, it wouldn't have broken like that in the exact same spot on both antenna. And they both have that little itty bitty last tertiary segment. That's so fun. Okay, so these antennae are pretty long. Let me see. So I'm gonna make mine come off to the left, off to the right, and then back down. That's going to be easiest for me. That first segment is longer than the head. I'm going to say it's right about, that seems about right. So that's segment number 1. Segment number 2 is even longer. They seem to be fairly evenly separated. And then the little third segment. We love it. A little baby one. Sorry, can't help myself. Let's go look at the pronotum. His pronotum almost looks like a little bit like a butt. Just saying. I don't know if you see it, but I see it. Alright. So the top of the pronotum here is actually pretty cool because I like that it's taller ridges on the edges and then kind of swoops down, but on the bottom it's pretty even across. So I'm going to make sure we get that nice like swoop down and we get that even layer here. Now we've got the estimated shape of our pronotum, but one of the things, aren't you going to show mouth parts? Sure, we can turn our specimen sideways. The pronotum highlights do look like a smiley face. Nom nom nom. My wish is your command, hot weather. This is the edge of the mouth parts of the assassin bug here that we are drawing. Assassin bugs are a venomous insect, so they pierce, they inject venom, and then they drink their insects through this piercing and sucking mouth part. A lot of times you can tell a predatory and venomous true bug from a true bug that's just phytophagous or feeding on plants by the length of the rostrum. The rostrum being that piercing and sucking mouth part. If it is nice and short and stout like this one, kind of like a thumbtack, that's a predatory. But if it's nice and thin and long, like a cicada's mouth part or a stink bug's mouth part, most stink bugs, those are phytophagous insects. Now, the other cool thing about the mouth part, if we flip it over here, flip, here we go. Yeah, oh, look at the bottom of the compound eyes, too. That's pretty cool. The other thing is that this is the, here, let's focus it up a little bit. This right here is the rostrum, that piercing and sucking mouth part, and Reduvius, specifically assassin bugs, have this channel right here in between their front coccyx. So you see right there, there's that channel. We call it a prosternal groove. It's a prosternal groove. What that just means is that it's a groove on the first segment of the thorax on the bottom side. We have all of those words for that. And inside of this groove, there are these little striations or these little lines so that when the assassin bug gets scared or it's trying to scare something else away, it'll take its mouth parts and rub them up against that and make a high-pitched squeaking noise. And we call that stridulation. when you're using one body part and rubbing it against another body part to make a squeaky noise. So that is bonus information about the mouth parts. I was personally going to skip them because we don't draw them from a dorsal perspective, but I answer any and all questions that are asked. So, very cool. I'm glad I was able to get to it for us. And I really like the compound eyes from the bottom. They're wrapped all the way, almost all the way around. It makes me feel like they can see what they're eating. Which I never considered. No problem. Oh, this is a lateral perspective. Let me get it back to dorsal so we can get back to drawing our friend here. But he's not too fat. You can see it's a fairly narrow body. The hemielytra do bend down there at the very end, but not as much as you would see in a murid or a plant bug. His pronotum looks like a butt. I just can't help it, and I love it. So, here we are. We're looking back at the pronotum. Pro meaning the first. When we're referring to regions of the thorax, pro is the first segment, meso is the middle segment, and meta is the end segment. And then notum is the word you can use for any of the pieces of the exoskeleton on the top, whereas sternum are the segments on the bottom, which is why the pronotum is here on the top and the prosternum is where that groove is on the bottom. Bonus factoids. Alright, so from this point here, I did kind of want to draw myself a straight line across, but that's not going to be true because we also have the bulbous segments of our pronotum coming up. So instead, I'm going to give myself a vertical median line here and draw two globes. Make sure that they stay lower than, they have to stay right around this point. Let's see. Yeah, that'll work. So I'm drawing these two circles here with that median groove. Alright, and then I'm going to even my right side out, but I'm pretty happy with the left side here. Just make sure that it all connects. I'm going to darken some of the regions here so that you do almost look like you've got that straight line across. And then after you've got these two pieces here, all we need to do is get the edges done. So coming in from that edge a little bit and then going back out, right? We're going to let some of that region, you don't want to connect it to the very bottom is what I'm saying. I want you to go up a little bit on both sides. The edges here, you do want to make sure that they're not so pointy. We've got pointy edges and this is nice and smooth. So I'm going to round that edge off. But not only am I rounding this edge off, but I'm going to be kind of moving down a little bit. I'm going to be shifting all of this just a little bit because the bottom side of our pronotum here angles down towards the center, comes across, and then comes back up. So we've got this shape happening. That's probably how I would finalize mine. If you did want to add all of those hairs, that's always also another option. Let's move down to... Let's move down. There is a little bit of the abdomen curled up around the hemielytra that we can see. That's what I was looking for. So first off, we're looking at the scutellum. Unfortunately, there is that little bit of that glowy, hazy spot right there. That is the head of the insect pin. So we're not going to be able to change or move that. We are going to draw out our scutellum here, which is that triangle, and it does actually, it's mostly in that center piece here. So from here, we've got our scutellum. Honestly, the scutellum on this assassin bug is not as large as some other true bugs will have it. Okay. Alright, so now we are looking at this wing on the right side. There's a couple of things that I'm seeing. We do have some wing venation happening in here. I like this vein because it starts at the corner and it comes down and it meets the same V on the other side. That's the one that I'm looking at to start with. So I'm going to take a line from the corner on both sides and then match it up. Probably we're going to take from the bottom of the scutellum, we're going to go right about there. And so I'm going to make a diagonal line down to that point on both sides. I'm happy with that right side. The left side got a little bit wonky, so we're going to fix it. It's still wonky, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so we have that all situated. Now I'm going to do the top side of the wing because even though this whole region should be the wing, it doesn't have these sharp corners up here at the top of the scutellum. So I'm just going to kind of very nicely add some rounding up here and kind of double up some of these lines to make it look more like a wing is coming down. Alright, and the right wing is on top, but this portion of the wing meets and moves down together. This needs to be wider. I don't know why. That's gonna work. Alright, we've got that all situated. Now, we have our lines coming pretty much parallel, and I'm happy with that, but because the wings are primarily parallel, but if we squish down just a little bit, we can see there on either side side of the wings, here and here, there are little bits of abdomen sticking out. So let's get our wing outline sorted. That's this line coming from the point over to the edge. And we are happy. I'm pretty happy with the shape of my Masked Hunter from our beginning, especially down there. So I'm gonna get my outline all sorted, taking this straight down on both sides, and then erasing any of those sketchy lines that we don't need anymore. And I will go over these darker lines just to make sure we didn't erase too much of them. Alright, and then on the edges, let's see how much. We're going to say right about where the hind leg is coming out, so right about here where we estimated, we're going to add just little itty bitty slivers here on either side. To show that the abdomen is just a little bit wider than the body. We could even count. I'm counting 4 segments. They're pretty long segments. So you could divide these little pieces into 4. Can you show the difference between wings or elytra and hemielytra? Yes. I actually taught that class to some students recently. I'm going to show it to you in drawings I already have in marker. So, oops, I forgot. I hadn't turned it back on yet. Here we go. Boop. Boop. Okay. So insect wings. Way down here. You've got your basic wing types that are the basic membranous wings. These are wings of like bees and flies and dragonflies where they're clear and you can see all of the veins inside of them. That's kind of like your basic wing type. And then you have 3 more wing types in insects. You've got the elytra, and these are really hard. They're protective for the membranous wings underneath, and they're only found in beetles. These are elytra. They don't really flap. They don't help in the flight process. They just help the membranous wings underneath. And then hemielytra are what we're looking at right now. It has this triangular shape at the base, and then in the last region here, it's going to be kind of membranous. Hemielytra, hemi meaning half, it's kind of half hard and half membranous. Now, they say hemielytra, but none of these wings are as hard as a beetle wing. Beetles are going to have the hardest wings. Then, the last one we haven't really talked about, but I'll mention it to you, is the tegmina. And these are the leathery front wings of things like praying mantids and grasshoppers and cockroaches and walking sticks. They have this kind of opaque, more leathery front wing that generally doesn't have too many wing veins, but can have a couple if it's trying to look like a leaf. And those are wing types. So, like, those are elytra, because they're on a beetle and they're nice and hard. And these wings, if you were to, it's not as obvious in this one, but from right about here down, this portion of the wing is going to be more clear. And it has, and it's going to have, doesn't have as much wing venation. This one is just a bad example of a hemielytra. I do have others like stink bugs that are a little bit better, but they're just half hard and half membranous at the bottom. Aw, thank you. You're really cool too. Alright. I am looking at some of the wing venation in the hemielytra. I don't want to spend a lot of time focusing on all of the wing venation, but I do want to, pay an homage to all of the folded regions of our wing here. Plus, I think that this corner region here has a name and an importance, and so I want to get it there. I don't remember what it is, but I'm pretty sure. It's been a minute since I need an assassin bug and a key. Here we are. So, coming off of this corner, we've got two veins that are coming out from here, kind of like so. They're coming out in this direction. And then from here on this corner, you do have this kind of cool, darker, triangular portion of this is going to be of the harder region of the wing. It also is going to show kind of the edge of where the membranous portion of the wing is and the harder portion here. And then we've got one kind of funky looking vein that comes along on the outside, and then two more that break in from here. And honestly, I'm happy with that. So now I'm going to just mimic what I see on the right side to whatever would be seen on the left side. So we get the veins that are coming, down, and we get that little corner piece. Pretty happy. All right, let's look at legs. That's so bright. Calm yourself. A little bit brighter. So touchy. Alright, because of the way that these legs are, because of the angle of these legs, I cannot get their entire legs in focus at one time unless I'm looking at them laterally. So here's the plan. I want to look and see what you can see from the top of where the leg starts, and I want to get a good idea of the size of the leg parts, the lengths. And then we'll turn them sideways, and we'll draw them from a lateral perspective, because we'll be able to see the entire leg easier. So this front leg is connected right around here. So I'm just gonna it's gonna be coming off right off near the round pieces, and I'm just making it a little bit wider than it is at the base, kind of just giving it a base for the leg. What the name for this body part would be is the coxa, but there's not a lot that you can see from the coxa at this viewpoint. It is honestly just, at this point, it's going to be like a little short little table that the leg is perched on. In reality, the coxa is essentially the insect's hip bone. So you'll have procoxa for the front leg, mesocoxa for the middle leg, and metacoxa for the hind leg. Although I think the procoxa is the only one going to be visible from the top. So you've got that guy there. And then, instead of just drawing my leg, what I'm going to do is estimate size. The leg comes out to, let me give you all the words. just like a human leg, we have our femur between our hip and our knee, and then our tibia between our knee and our ankle. Insects, the first major portion of its leg is the femur. The next one is the tibia. And then all of the remaining segments are going to be considered the tarsi. You don't have tarsi, but you do have metatarsals, which are your toe bones, and insects have them too. All right. So let's see. I'm going to estimate that our femur is going to be coming out right about like so. I want my femur to come out a little bit wider than the hunter is that's on our screen, because then I can take the tibia and bring it forward. Yeah. And then those tarsal segments are going to be going right here, probably in between the Reduvius and the personatus. Alright, I'm going to make sure that the sizes and locations of these legs are correct, and then I'm going to turn our specimen lateral. And what's crazy is on the right side you can actually see the trochanters, but we're not going to draw those. Yep, we're good. We're going to turn it sideways. He's so cute. Stop it. Don't move. Look at the little tarsal claws. Okay. They don't have fibula. It is very sad. Just the tibia. But they do have something called a trochanter, which we don't have. And I wasn't going to point it out, but I can point it out. It's right here. So if we look right here, there's this little square. This is the coxa, that's the base of the leg. But then because the coxa is generally pretty set in the body, it doesn't generally do a lot of rotation. The trochanter here is kind of like a knee that connects the femur to the hip. It helps the insect kind of change the direction of movement, so the femur can go up, the tibia goes down, and then these are the little tarsal segments. And those right there at the very end, we call those tarsal claws. We love them. They're super cute. Oh, and I was going to give you the word trochanter, and then I forgot. The words aren't too small yet. Okay. From the top, you're not really going to see much of the trochanter, but because we're going to see it from the side, I figured I might as well give you the name of it. So the femur does kind of get a little bit wider in the center. I'm also going to take into consideration the angle at which the tibia is coming out. So I want to end my femur at a kind of a perpendicular to the line, to the direction that it's going. All right, and then I want this femur to be a little bit wider in the middle. Is that too wide? I don't think so. The front legs are pretty wide. Alright, so we've got that femur all figured out. And then the tibia is up front. The tibia is significantly more narrow, so we need to make sure that that happens in our sketch. I'm going to erase the little sketchy line of the tibia that I don't need. Make sure it stays nice and narrow and goes all the way to where we want our tarsi to be. At the very end, just make sure that it ends nice and flat. There is a little itty bitty spur at the base of the pro tibia. That feels very long. I'm going to shorten it just a little bit. feels better. Cute. Alright, let's zoom into the tarsal segments and see what's up there. You said these bugs are venomous. Where do they hold the venom? They hold their venom in venom sacs at the base of their rostrum. So, right up there near their mouth parts. Looking, 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 looking. Claws. I'm counting 3. Okay, there are 3 tarsal segments that we are looking at that would be spelled like this. Derp-a-derp. Alright, we've got 3 tarsal segments. The first one is little itty bitty teeny tiny triangular segment. Kind of at the base. It's not going to be super incredibly visible, but it's there and it counts. The second one is a longer rectangular segment, and I would say that the third one is actually the longest segment, which is funny because that's generally not how tarsal segments work. Normally, tarsal segments are longest at the base and shortest at the end, but the masked hunter just wants to be unique. So, you get cute little itty bitty tarsal segments here. Alright, let's move on back to our middle and our hind legs. No problem, Jared. Love answering all of the bug questions for your buggy question needs. Alright, so this is going to be the middle leg of the masked hunter here. Is there a difference between assassin bug tarsal claws and beetle's tarsal claws? Yes. There are minute differences that have large effects. So, like, tarsal claws of a fly, for instance, you've got the tarsal claws, but then underneath each of the claws you have something that are called pulvili, and they're like little friction pads underneath their claws to help them hold on even better. And then they have a sensory hair in between that's called the empodium. And I believe it's this empodium that actually does the tasting with the feet, but it's definitely a sensory. And that's on the base of flies. That would be the last segment of a fly's tarsal claw. A beetle, a lot of times beetles, if we think of them like, let's see, like a glorious jewel scarab. We love those. So a glorious jewel scarab, it's going to have tarsal claws that are really good at grabbing and holding on. So they're going to be a little bit thicker, and they're going to have joints where they can open and close their claws like this, and they can really hold on. That would be a lot of your jewel beetles, your scarabs, your rhinoceros beetles, your Hercules beetles. They can really hold on. And I had one hold on so tight that it actually punctured my skin at the base of my nail, you know, where it's a little bit softer. Yeah, so I would say that the masked hunter tarsal claws look pretty weak to me. They're very, very narrow. They don't seem to have a lot of additional grip to them. So I would say in the grand scheme of things, the masked hunter probably would get blown away by the other tarsal claws I see. Alright, let's see. Let's get one of these legs done. I'm going to start drawing this leg while I answer Jared's next question. Yay, I love having questions to talk about. Y'all make me so happy. And that is, what are assassin bugs' life cycle stages? What stages does a masked hunter go through? So I'll write them up here. They've got egg, nymph, and then adult. They go through what we call a simple metamorphosis. So they simply grow up. They do not have a pupa or a resting stage. So, and that's going to be all true bugs. All true bugs have a simple metamorphosis. Egg, nymph, adult. The nymphs of masked hunters, I don't believe you were both here when I chit-chatted about the nymphs of the masked hunters, so I'll share it with you again. They're really freaking adorable because they're nymphs. They don't have wings yet, and they're a little bit, naturally, they're kind of gray. They look like a little rock. But they also release a little, like, sticky glue-like substance. And then, the babies, wherever they're walking through, they stick the substrate. They glue, like, little bits of the ground onto their body. Like, if they're walking through dirt, they're just walking around, and they're like oozing glue, and whatever is around them, all of the dirt and the leaves and all of the weird little bits of things, they just stick to their body. But it's even better when you find a masked hunter in your house, because if it's an immature and it's been walking around in your house covered in glue, what it's really going to be covered in is dust. And I think that they're really cute when you've got this, like bug. It's a decent-sized true bug, probably about a half an inch, walking around looking like a straight-up dust bunny. And predating on insects that are in your home, right? Like, this is a predator, so it's going to be out there eating ants, eating small beetles, eating carpet beetles, you know. They're actually a decent thing to have in your home if you're into letting buggies do your work for you. All right. No problem. Love it. All right. I'm looking at that hind leg now. The hind leg is very long, very thin femur here. Alright, so you've got that nice long femur. We also have a fairly long, thin tibia that's going to fold in towards our masked hunter's body. And then 3 tarsal segments here at the end, that rectangular, the triangle, the rectangle, and then the little bit longer. I would almost call it raindrop, but it feels more like a rounded rectangle to me this time. I don't know, I think he's pretty cute. My favorite are those little... Alright, if I had to pick a favorite feature on the masked hunter, I would pick the little itty-bitty tertiary segment at the end of the antenna. I think that that is, like, the cutest thing on this planet. I am going to clean up this corner line right here, but I'm actually pretty happy with my sketch here today. It looks like this. I don't always add the other set of legs, but any of you can. You just take any of the characteristics you added here, flip them 180 degrees, and make them symmetrical. You're sure your buggy would end up looking super cute. This is that fly's tarsal segment, so I'm just going to write Diptera in there for fly, and then this is the beetle. I'm going to write Colio in there for beetle. Alright, cool deal. That's our cute little masked hunter for today. So, sometimes I like to ask if anybody would like to see any other part of the body that we have not seen today. If there's any questions you had about the insect that I was not able to answer. Sometimes I can tell male from female by looking at the end of the abdomen, but this is not going to be one of those times. No, I'm not going to be able to tell. It would be cute to have a little colony of masked hunters, though. Because then they would glue themselves. You could give them little bits of colored sand. You could see how long it would take them to switch from one color to another. Alright, masked hunters. I hope that you all had a fabulous time here. We like to draw and chit-chat about bugs every Thursday night. I'm going to jump over to here in my closer and get my microscope out of the way. What are you doing in this camera? I teach on a platform called OutSchool. This is generally for students ages 5 to 8, 9 to 12, and high school level. I don't have any adult virtual classes just yet. That is a reminder to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you get notification that this is happening every single week. And you know, I'm sure one of these days I'm going to surprise everybody with an insect pinning class, because I pin insects at least 2 hours a week for my collection to keep everything fresh and new. That way down there is just a reminder that if you've really enjoyed hanging out with me and you wanted to drop a couple of dollars, that is your ability to leave me a small tip, buy me a coffee, keep me out there collecting bugs, because that is what I love to do and what I want to do. This is my email address. If you've drawn with me or created some art with me today and you want to share that with me, I love to see it. So feel free to email me at trisha@theinsectopia.com. And then way over there at Insectopia 2015, that is my Instagram and my Facebook. Yeah, my Facebook and my Instagram have 2015 on them. So if you want to find me, that's where I'm at. I hope that you all have a fabulous rest of your week, and I hope you go out and you look for really cool bugs and then find some. Alright, stay buggy. Bye.